What's up, guys? Today we're going to be checking out a pair of speakers from ELAC. These are the ELAC Solano FS287s. Now for this review, we are going to be using the Perlisten R5Ts as our reference speakers because that's my personal speaker and I know that it measures really flat and it's really linear and it's a very neutral sounding speaker. So anything else that comes through my home, it's either going to sound maybe a little bit brighter, maybe a little softer, maybe warmer, whereas the Perlistens are going to be typically right down the middle. Now this is not going to be a versus video about which speaker is better. Just keep in mind that the Perlistens are the reference speakers.
Right.
Now for associated gear, we are using the HiFi Rose RS520, which puts out 250 watts per channel into 4 ohms or into 8 ohms. And as far as speaker cables, we are using the William Tell AudioQuest cables, and for source, we are using Roon with Qobuz. Bill, what are your thoughts on these ELAC speakers?
Those folded ribbon tweeters sounded really nice, very clear, not muddy at all, especially when they're, considering that these, they're mounted on top, and there's only a single one of those versus the mids and the bass.
Yeah, so obviously the Perlisten has kind of the advantage here because it has like the tweeter and the mid tweeters as well. This one just has the 1-inch folded ribbon tweeter, the Jet 5 tweeter, as ELAC calls it. And the tweeters in these speakers were actually manufactured in Germany, Kiel, Germany.
Oh, okay.
So the detail, the upper end, the crispiness, the crispy detail on these tweeters. What's the response on these tweeters?
They're from 30 to 50,000
kilohertz. Yeah.
Kilohertz. Yeah.
And then
50,000 hertz. So.
And then the Perlistens, I believe, are 30
They're
to
30 to
32.
32, right?
Yeah. So, technically speaking, the ELACs would have higher end response over the Perlistens. Maybe we just have a deficiency in our hearing, but they sound pretty similar.
The high end sounds very similar on these speakers. Yes, absolutely.
So so that upper end transparency and detail in songs that we listen to from Clara, Wonderwall / Sorry. I mean, there's a lot of guitar. What's guitar solo?
Yeah, so acoustic guitar.
Yeah.
You can hear the detail in when they're sliding their fingers down the neck, when they're fretting the strings. A lot of little detail like that, nuanced stuff.
I mean, you can hear the plucks on the twang on each string of the guitar. It's like
right.
Ding, ding. It's really crispy and clear on the ELACs. Also on the Perlistens as well.
Yeah.
And if we're talking about like being a little too bright, because I know these go up to like 50 kilohertz. That guitar solo from Richards in
Sympathy for the Devil. Yeah, that can be a little, a little ear piercing at times, a little grating.
I mean, I think if we had turned up the volume a lot louder than we typically would, possibly it could be a bit ear piercing.
Yeah.
But it stayed pretty smooth, throughout, just as smooth as the Perlisten. So if you want to get some of that really good micro detailing, you want to get some of that breathiness, that Lenny Kravitz song, It Ain't Over Till It's Over, that definitely recreated that as well, just as good as the Perlisten. And keep in mind, the Perlisten is twice the cost of these ELAC speakers, so
right.
I mean, that's really saying something, I think. Now, one thing that I thought was pretty different between the two was, if we're starting from the top down, like the mid-range, I felt like the vocal clarity or the vocal presence on the Perlistens definitely had a more pronounced sound to them, a little more gravitas or beefiness to it.
Right. Well, you're also talking about a bigger, like physically a larger speaker and larger cabinet. I thought that as being a balanced speaker, your spatial imaging, the sound imaging was more consistent on the Perlistens.
Yeah.
The ELACs, to me, they sounded really good, but again, like they were a little more vocal forward.
Yeah.
But still well balanced, good spatial imaging.
They were a little bit slightly thinner sounding, I thought,
from
the Perlistens, yeah, for sure. And which also I think on Sympathy for the Devil, we're listening for the congas, which are in the right speaker. I felt like we could definitely hear that particular instrument a little bit more forward over the Perlissons, whereas on the Perlissons, the soundstage, the instruments kind of really blended well in the soundstage.
Sounded more natural, like the placing of the...
Yeah.
You could, the sounding, the spatial imaging sounded more natural.
There's some more layers in the Perlisson soundstage, so we can definitely tell where things are in the soundstage on the Perlissons, where everything's placed on the Perlissons. Whereas I did feel like the congas and the ELACs slightly more forward as far as the instrumental placement on their soundstage, which isn't a bad thing. It's just slightly different sounding. Yeah, slightly different. Maybe you like the Perlissons, maybe you like the ELACs. I'm not saying one is better than the other ones, but that's something that we definitely noticed. But what I really did like about the ELACs, you know, is the bass response.
Hell of a bass response. Those things, yeah. You'd expect the bass response from speakers twice that size easily.
I mean, we're listening to Poem of Chinese Drum by Yim Hawk Man, I think his name is. You know, if you walked in my room while that song was playing, you would just ask me, is there a subwoofer somewhere in this room?
Right.
Just the low end extension on these little towers are fantastic. I mean, I heard these at an audio show a year ago, and we were just kind of blown away. We walked into the room and we thought that there was a subwoofer turned on, and there wasn't. It was just these little towers. Not that the bass was lacking at all on the Perlissons, but I just felt like the extension just wasn't.
It's designed to have a more balanced sound. It's not designed to be bass heavy. These things, I think, for smaller speakers, they're pushing the bass so that the speaker sounds bigger and gives you bigger than it actually is.
Would I say it's more accurate sounding than the Perlissons? Maybe not. I mean, I felt like, we got a little bit more control and slam with the Perlissons. I don't want to say the ELACs are boomy, but it's still got a really clean bottom end.
Oh, but, yeah, it wasn't like out of control reverberation or anything. It wasn't buzzy at all.
For such small towers, man, everything, I'm kind of blown away by these speakers, especially for the price. Especially that the Perlissons are literally twice the cost. I mean, these ELACs are on sale right now, so it's more than twice the cost.
$2,300 for the pair now.
Yep.
Being on sale.
Yep. So I mean, everything from top to bottom, like the detail, the clarity, and the tweeters, the mid range, it's a little bit different sounding.
Yeah. The one thing I found with the ELACs is versus the Perlisson in terms of just difference was, and it just could be the size of the speaker.
Yeah.
Is some of the sustain and like the higher end or mid range stuff, like in the cymbal crashes in home, and because home has a lot of detail in it in the background, like atmospheric stuff that you heard it, you just didn't have the sustain that you would on the Perlissons, and then the Lenny Kravitz It Ain't Over Till It's Over, like you said, you hear that breathiness and all that, but it's got a little bit better sustain on the Perlissons.
Like the decay on instruments and just the soundstage extension, I guess you can say. The depth of soundstage, I guess you would say, is definitely a little bit better on the Perlissons. But listen, this is really nitpicking.
Oh yeah, we're just trying to find differences. That's it. I'm not saying it's better or it's worse. I'm just saying it's a difference.
Now keep in mind, specs wise, what are in these speakers?
These speakers have the 1-inch ribbon tweeter.
So it's got a 1-inch folded ribbon tweeter, the Jet 5 tweeter.
Yep.
It's got two 6-inch woofers, which will give the speaker a frequency response again of 30 to 50K.
And it's ported at the back.
It's also bi-wireable / bi-ampable. So if you want to run that route, which we did, we bi-wired them. So if you want to do that, you can do that as well. So I mean, it's a pretty full-featured speaker.
Absolutely.
And they're really high quality as well. It's not like one of their cheaper end brands, despite them only being about $2,000 each.
Yeah, they've got a real nice cabinet finish, that high gloss, and it they feel, you pick them up, it's a solid speaker. It doesn't feel
Yeah, they're 28.5 pounds each, I think. And frankly, I was blown away. I think Bill was really impressed as well.
Yep.
For the price of these speakers compared to the Perlissons. Normally these are $2,000 a piece, so $4,000 a pair, whereas the Perlissons are $4,000 a piece, so $8,000 a pair. Would I say the Perlissons are twice the performance of these speakers?
No.
Yeah, I wouldn't say so.
I wouldn't say that.
No.
And if you have a smaller space, those ELACs would be just nice. And if you could always add a sub if you wanted to. I don't think with these in a smaller space you'd really need a sub.
So $2,400 for the pair. I mean,
steel.
Yeah, amazing sounding speakers. Now, if you do want to pick up anything that I've mentioned in this video, I'll leave some links down below in this video's description. Now, if you have heard these speakers or any ELAC speakers, definitely leave your thoughts down below and let us know how you felt that these speakers performed, or how do ELAC speakers perform. Leave your comment down below and let us know. As always, guys, thanks for watching. Be sure to like this video if you found it useful and subscribe if you haven't already, and we'll see you again in the next video.
Cheers.